Hey guys, this example is going to show you what you definitely want to avoid on the chessboard. This is another game of Vasily Smyslov. He's playing Vladimir Alatortsev in the Moscow Championship 1946. And in this situation, Alatortsev made a decision that really surprised me. He put his rook to d4, blocking the diagonal. But the surprising part is that he decided to block that diagonal with the rook and not the queen, which I thought was a much more natural option, because certainly you would think that the white queen is the main source of danger on the board and you would want to trade her. And obviously if white agrees to the trade, then you have absolutely no problems in the endgame. You're out of the pin. And if white takes this pawn, there's definitely a few decent options. One of them is knight e4, activating your knight and attacking the f2 pawn. So instead of that, he goes rook d4, rook b1, white activates the rook. Of course, you probably don't want to be looking at moves like rook a4. I mean, is that pawn really worth it? It opens up the queen again, and then you're making yourself vulnerable to tactics like that, where the queen is deflected from the protection of the knight on f6, and that can only be very bad news for the black king. I mean, he is just going to get mated very quickly. So black, of course, is not interested in that pawn. He goes rook f8. So it's a little bit of a mysterious move. But I suppose that in case he ever does get checked on that square, he wants to be able to go back to g8 without having his rook trapped on h8. That would be my guess. But now look what happens. Rook b8. Same idea we just saw, the deflection theme. The queen is also protecting this rook. And so she's got a lot to be defending here. If she doesn't want to take the white rook on b8. So she took, we took. Okay, we're back in the pin. Black has only one way out, queen d8, and of course white's not going to trade. White goes here, and black goes rook e8. And here we get to the interesting part of the game. What would you guys do? You can definitely pause the video and think about how you would try to exploit this pin. If you came up with g4, great job. Of course, it's a bit of an unusual move, moving pawns in front of your king, but at the same time, there's simply no way to put additional pressure on this knight unless you utilize that pawn. I mean, your bishop can't help you out. It's a light squared bishop. And we really want to get something out of that pin. So we're going g4. The intention is very clear. And black is actually not able to deal with this so easily, because if they played g5, we're just going to continue with h4. And we're going to do everything we can to get that pawn out of the way. So in the game, black played h6. White played h4. g5, we reach the same position, takes. And now we've, provoked black to move their pawns in front of their king too, and we can attack them. This must have felt very uncomfortable for black, because he's pinned. Now his g5 pawn is hanging. How to guard that pawn? Well, the truth is that black's position is not completely hopeless, but he does have to make a very cold-blooded move, rook e4. I don't think a lot of people would find that, especially if they didn't have a lot of time. So the idea is that you're simply giving up this pawn and then going king h6, attacking the rook, and if the rook moves, you will take the pawn on g4. Now, what other choices does white have here? Well, white can try to play f3 to guard the g4 pawn. But in that case, black can just bravely take the pawn on a4, give up this one, and go king f8, and apparently survive. Of course, black's position doesn't look like the most secure in the world, and you definitely have to watch out for queen c5 check, but it seems like we can block with our queen on e7 and, be surviving. There's no rook g8 deflections because the knight would be controlling that square. So black survives by the skin of their teeth. But of course, rook e4, not a simple move to make when you're under so much pressure. And black played king g6 instead, trying to protect the pawn and get out of the pin. It's a very natural instinct, but unfortunately, you're going to a light square, and white has a piece that can attack you on the light square. So the bishop comes out, and suddenly you're in the line of fire. Maybe even worse than being pinned is being in a discovered check. So black tried to block that, but it proved to be too difficult to maintain the knight on this square, especially because I'm also attacking f7. So the problem is you can't really use your queen to protect the knight because I would just take, and you can't take me back because this is going to lead to checkmate. So the knight felt obliged to move, forking the queen and rook, but again, yes, you're in a very nasty tactical pattern here. So rook takes f7, a discovered check, and black resigned because they're just going to get mated on the next move. After king h6, rook h7. So I think the main takeaway, guys, from this example is that you got to be really careful about getting yourself into pins. It is one of the nastiest tactical motifs in chess. It means your pieces are paralyzed. It means your pieces are tied down. And your opponent is definitely going to be trying to exploit that theme against you.